Hi everybody, I'm Richard. Welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. Today we're going to take a look at the most popular .22 rifle in production. Still in production since 1960. This is the Marlin Model 60, and it is a direct blowback .22 semi-auto rifle. This one is a birch stock with a stainless barrel on it, and it comes with the scope already on it. It's just a little 4x20 scope on there, so it's not variable. It's fixed 4 power, adjustable for both elevation and windage. It's got the little 3/8 dovetail mounts on it. It's real similar to the Ruger 1022, the shape of the receiver and everything, but unlike the Ruger 1022, this one I think is a little easier to take apart for cleaning and reassembly. Let's go ahead and get it taken apart, take a look at it, and then we'll get it on the range and give it a few shots. Alright, the Marlin Model 60 is a direct blowback semi-auto. It's just like I said, just like the Ruger 1022, except the Ruger 1022 has a magazine here, usually a 10-round magazine is what it comes with, a rotary style. This is tube fed, so you've got the magazine tube that's mounted right underneath the barrel here, and what you do to load it is you'll take the end of the magazine tube, it twists, it's got a little bayonet style lock on it. You pull that up, you'll see the orange follower right there in that window, and then you just take your 22 rounds. You see the shape of the cutout there, that's the way the rounds go in. So they go in rim first, bullet pointing out, and load it up. I believe this one's a 14 or 15 round magazine in it. But we're gonna go ahead and take the magazine tube out right now, and you'll see on this one, there's a couple screws here you got to take out. Now again, I'm not a big fan of any firearm that needs tools to take it apart, but this one is not terribly hard to do. Just take your rear screw out of here that's right at the back of the trigger guard, and take this front one loose. They're not real super tight, and they don't need to be either, but take that out and go ahead and lift the stock right off there. You'll see the trigger assembly stays into the stock on this. Unlike the Ruger 1022, you got to finagle the safety on it a little bit to get it to come out of there. But everything comes off of here. Now, disassembly of this part of the gun is actually pretty easy too, because there's a pin right here at the back, and you'll just kind of hold a little pressure down on that, push that pin out, and then grab a hold of it and pull it out. It's a little plastic pin that's in this model anyways. This is a newer one, so there's going to be things that are probably going to be different on this than the older ones. You just lift the back of it out, pull it right out of there. You'll see a couple little tabs on the front here that go right underneath that pin. This one's dirty. I've had it out there playing with it already for a little bit. There's your hammer right there. This is your magazine release, or your bolt release. To get this out, you just take and pull that back a little bit, and you can kind of push up on it a little bit. Go ahead and take your charging handle out of there. It'll just slide right out, and then continue to pull upward on this. There is a spring down in there, your recoil spring and guide rod. Pick it up, be careful with it. It's got a little bit of pressure on it. And you'll see right here in the back of the bolt, there is a little hole right there that the end of your spring goes in, and then your guide rod is in the other end of it. It's a really small diameter rod too. So, and it's got a little tapered piece on the end of it here, and a little stop for the spring. It will come out of there. You can get it all cleaned up. It's pretty short, goes in one way only. And then you'll see inside the receiver, there's a little piece down here in the bottom of it. That's where your guide rod goes down inside there. And then it's a little tricky to get in there, but like I said, I think it's easier to put together than the Ruger 1022. So to get that back in there, put your spring and guide rod in there, start the end of your guide rod in there, and then kind of hold it kind of where it's pushing directly back on it. And be careful, because right now you can bend the spring around because the guide rod's not started into the bolt yet. But if you'll push it, kind of hold it, guide it in there. Once you've got to where it starts in there, hold a little pressure back on it, push it down inside there. Now hold it up slightly in the front so you can get your charging handle back in there. You need to push back as you're pushing down. Get everything lined up. And there it is. It's all back in there. Now obviously I got to clean this one up a little bit, and then putting your fire control group or your trigger group and everything back in there. This spring right here is kind of bent toward the middle, and it's supposed to be like that. It aids in the ejection of the rounds when the next one's in. Makes it kind of difficult to get it in there, so you gotta, because that spring, that groove right there in the middle is where the it's where the bolt center part, the firing pin, everything rides through there. So to get it in there, you might have to finagle it a little bit, but get your two lugs started underneath that pin, and then get it pushed down in there. You could probably pull your bolt back just a little bit and push down on it at the same time. You might have to do the mag release. There we go, got it in there. Let the bolt go forward, and then you can go ahead and get your pin put back in it, and you should be able to function check it somewhat. You don't want to pull the trigger on it anyways, because it's a rim fire, so you don't want to damage the face of it there where it pinches the rim in it. But once you've got that all cleaned up, like I said, I got to still get this one cleaned up, and we'll take it back out on the range. But putting it back together, same thing. Just put your stock right back on there, lining everything up in there like it's supposed to be. Make sure your pin is in properly, and everything should line back up. Put your screws back in and go for it. Now, I wouldn't recommend taking any of this apart. You can, there are little clips and everything on there, E-clips on the sides. There's a lot of little parts in there you probably don't want to lose, but if you give it a good spray in and take a nice soft brush and just kind of brush it off real good, it should clean up, everything should clean up real nice. And then once you get that done, you can go ahead and wipe everything down, give it a little bit of lubrication where it needs it, and put it all back together, and it should be just fine. Alright, I've got the Marlin Model 60 out here on the range. We're going to get loaded up with some 22 Thunderbolts, and we're going to take a few shots at the 50-foot small bore rifle target up there and see how it does. Now, I took this thing out last weekend and gave it a few shots, and it performed great. I've already got it sighted in, but I'm going to take about 5 shots at the center bullseye on there and see how that does. Now, to load this thing, like I said, all you got to do is you take the magazine tube that I left in the house. I'll be back. Okay, this is what I need. This is the magazine tube. So what you do to load this thing is we'll stick that right in there, pull it down till the follower is just starting to show in the little window there. We're just going to put 5 rounds in there because I'm going to take 5 rounds at the center target and see how it does. Push your tube back in, give it a little twist. It locks those little bayonet lugs in the end there. And let's take some shots. Okay, there's 5 shots. Let's go look at the target. Okay, I took 5 shots, center target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got the one flyer in there, of course. But like I said, I took this gun out last weekend and I shot, I don't know, 100, 150 rounds through it, and it really shoots great. I did have one of my targets, and I'll show it to you. I got it on the bench over here. I put 14 of them pretty much in the same hole. That bottom target is 14 shots, and it's pretty much one, I guess I'd say about a ½ inch hole there. So it does great. It's a good, accurate gun. Let's take a few shots at 100 yards and see how that does. Now I can tell you already, this rifle is more than capable of shooting 100 yards. I don't know how tight the groups are. Like I said, this is only a 4-power scope, so the magnification isn't real great. But if you were to use this for rabbit hunting or squirrel hunting, this is probably going to be a really good gun for it. The popularity of this one is it's tremendous, with 11 million of these things having been produced since 1960. There's a reason for it. It's a good, reliable gun. It's a good looking gun. Even if you don't get it in the stainless version, it is available in blue for just around the $150 mark. This one is stainless. Like I said, it comes with a little scope on it. So it's, I still paid less than $200 for it. Now you can upgrade the scope if you want, if you don't like the one that's on there. And it is kind of a cheap scope. It's a plastic scope. It's painted silver, maybe molded in silver. And the receiver on here is also, it's an aluminum receiver, but it's been painted silver. It's still a good looking gun, no matter which way you slice it. Let's go ahead and give it a few shots at the 100 and listen for the ring. Again, this thing it's accurate. It's a 22. Now, one of the things that lends to the accuracy in this rifle is it's micro grooved. The lands and grooves in the barrel, the spiraling that's in there is micro grooved, and what that does is it causes less deformation to the bullet. When you've got the 6 or 7 or 8 lands and grooves in there and they're cut pretty deep, the soft lead on the 22 gets deformed quite a bit. The micro grooves are really small, and there's a whole bunch of them in there, and it gets the bullet spinning good and doesn't deform it so much, so the accuracy is consistent with this gun, and it shoots great. All right, on the last round, it does have last round bolt hold open on it, and to release it, all you got to do is hit this little lever on the bottom there. Now, when you go to chamber around in here, if you reload it and then do that, it won't actually chamber one in there. You have to actually pull it all the way back and then let it go. Now, it's an empty magazine, so it won't fall forward on its own, but once you put a round in there, it will allow you to pull it all the way back, let it go, and it'll go all the way forward, chambering around. All right, I put 14 rounds in it. Now, like I said, the bolt hold open is there. I can pull it back now. Well, I can close the magazine. Now that there's rounds in there, I can pull it all the way back, let it go, and it has chambered around. It's ready to go. "14 rounds, just about as fast as you can pull the trigger, and no issues with it. The firing pin seems to hit hard enough to set the round off every time, and it's able to just sling them out there as fast as you can pull the trigger. It's a good looking gun. Like I said, this is the birch stock on it. It is available in walnut. There are other stocks available for this gun, but not quite as many different accessories as you have with the Ruger 10/22. In my opinion, I like this better than the Ruger 10/22 just because of the ease of disassembly and reassembly and cleaning it. They're real similar, but this one's just a little bit easier. I think it has to do with the recoil spring being centered on the bolt, whereas the Ruger 10/22, it's kind of offset and it kind of applies a little bit of torque. It makes you kind of fight it when you go to put it back together. Now, if you're not a big fan of the tube-fed magazines, don't fret, because this gun, the same gun, is available in a magazine fed version of it. It's a different model, and we'll have to take a look at that in another video. But in my opinion, this is a really good gun. It's a good looking gun. I like this. I mean, it was available in blued for about $50 less, but really it looks pretty good. Even though it's a cheap gun, inexpensive gun. I don't want to say cheap, it's good quality. It is inexpensive for sure. It would be nice if it had a stainless receiver on it too, but then you're not going to get it for that price. It's a good gun. It's a good shooting gun. You can shoot it with the open sights that are on it, or the little, you know, 4-power scope. You can put a different scope on there if you want. There's all kind of rings available for whatever scope you want to put on it. But it's a pretty good combination. Stainless barrel. You don't have to clean it quite as much. I clean pretty much every time I'm done shooting, so I maintain my firearms in pretty good condition. And this is an excellent choice. 11 million of these things sold over the years. It lets you know that it's a pretty good gun. It's a good gun for introducing somebody to semi-automatic 22 rifles. It's a good gun if you live out on a farm and you just want to do a little varmint control. If you want to go hunt squirrel or rabbit, hey, this is an excellent choice for it. Super accurate, at least at close range I know it is because I've tested it, and it shoots great. 14 rounds in pretty much a a half-inch circle is not bad for any gun, and it's not going to break the bank. Both the price of the firearm's not going to break the bank, and the price of ammo. Like I said, at the time of this recording, a 500 round box of the Thunderbolts is about $16 to $18. So, I mean, you can get out and have a lot of fun with this thing. All right, guys, there's my look at the Marlin Model 60. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you could, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, and share. And also, hit this button up here if you want to check out some more of my videos. Hit this button down here if you'd like to subscribe. And thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review.